and a budget too. Na yahwe and so be na yabowura we ko fie near the once a parliament for they've summoned the interior minister Muntakasa Omra Omeyi Semano. These and many more and eri nuanu eba bedi enkomo Ewofia. Fordjour am watching.
When you're watching me, that's it.
Bokode.
Yamiadum.
Awade.
Yamiadum. Awade.
Ade a change it.
I say a tempo anu dey na etianyam.
That's great. Weekend no course say. To me Black Stars match ni bi.
Yamiadum weekends in Black Stars match dey yehwe bi.
Okay.
So they call it na say friends say a child abuse. Microphone omambo to target cry new 3 po. Child abuse. Because we don't remember the last time at Black Stars I shared that number of goals, but the most worrying thing is
one goal project
the most worrying thing is Kwanya man for person more politics out of it. I think that we will get there.
Yeah, we talk about it. We need buy, you know. People are saying that John Mahama pension and Black Stars at my share no problem. Politicization of Black Stars, you know. Mekai 6-1 be na the late Achu. Yani Egypt. Kumasi.
Yeah.
It's just a goals I buy. We'll be speaking on that subject matter. So join the conversation on YouTube. Net2 TV GH. The topics in those minimum the old Beshasi.
Okay. I think there is far manifesto no. Any moon seven in the NDC commitment or
budget.
Yeah, the budget. Okay. I said the Beshas and pay me, but some didn't share my Atiwa Mantin constituency for you now. Or him pon Dr. Asiama Atibu Mahine.
Okay.
Na me ankasa na mponsanka kabo oyo tune for brempon e chana no pa ye chia
ayi na sum ira okay
ye at me na sum ira atebu mahine de ono so de no ho
okay okay
ye de chia be ma atebu manten MPP fo nyina ene omo menya kwanya hwe no pa yi. There's one issue and no personal address concern atebu manten fo no
okay
I pay the manifest budget in the per the finance minister yes. Your manifest budget now it is derived from NDC manifesto or presented prior to election 2024. Now our main pillars for their governance and this 4-year term, no, I think some are building upon 3 pillars. That is the economic transformation agenda, the economic recovery program, and the 24-hour economy. But the most surprising thing from this whole thing is that all these things were captured in the manifesto from page 3 or page 22. But after the presentation of this budget, some of the problems are Ghana and say, Obi okra this manifesto cry no so munya den enkan mu ehu asem wo mu da. Even budget here ya kan for over 2 weeks near Ewabontin. People are just making arguments out of context. Obu ha budget no onhu ade poten den ewum. Temi say am say NDC flagship program or they buy to win the election 2024 no. How many of those projects were captured by the friend is saying the budget no. Their main program I friend the 24-hour economy no. It was nowhere to be found. And after the presentation, no, when they started debating on the budget, besides adding in a 24-hour economy, no, one presenting, the Minister of Finance boldly told the Parliament, say, they are still working on it, even to be laid before Parliament for discussion. And to 24-hour economy na year who did to win the election 2024. You say, I say, is this something I did this the baby win election? And it was a thought after say, oh, bibia a better Ghana for soon. We sat in this very house to see, say, most of the projects, new programs are NDC and listed under the 24-hour economy. No? They are mostly happening every day. But the problem with this, their 24-hour economy, is the commitment to some of the things that is already running in Ghana. So, we're far in the health sector. So, you're far from even from clinics. I've worked in the Ghana Health Service before. Even CHIPS compound, at night, people go there and nurses attend to them. Oko polyclinics, clinics, any government hospitals are. there is no hospital in Ghana here because I say about 8 p.m. We have closed our services. But the problem with these sectors, and they say we need to push them. There are certain amenities and programs are and as a buying this guy, the 24-hour economy is nothing new to this economy of Ghana. Yet I have a cancer under the MPP government. We introduced the digitalization programs and projects, which made sure say, and then what's for your car insurance? You can pick a phone and begin to activate it. Open your health insurance, you can pick a phone and begin to activate it. New maybe to say a friend is saying passports. Even the now, your friend is saying, Samukuja Tablock in charge. He didn't even know, say, you can sit in the house and begin to start your passport registrations. These are some of the things which already that is happening. They thought it's something that is so unique, so new. So after they assuming power now, it looks so new to them. You hear some of the commitments NDC made, promises made in the manifesto. They made about 273 economic promises. Said they'll be doing during this 4-year term. NDC has no grounds to seek for 8 years. This Mahama term is just lasting up to 2028. It's every promise they gave in their manifesto. It is for a 4-year period. Yeah. Out of the 273 economic promises I end this year, see, I can say, but the 273 promises somewhere, how many can you be doing in a year? Let's see, a chama finishing number. They'll be doing 68 promises, 68 point something. And the promises in at least in credit budget to be 200. Yeah, we say out of the economic promises, some of them are Ghana for them. At least you should be able to see about 68 of those promises in the budget. Nani pana omoto abamunya hoda so to so say near man amodi campaign no. It's ideally and it is true that you are committed to it. But surprisingly, after this whole budget, we realized that only 25 of the 68 that they were supposed to do with the yearly, was enshrined in the budget, which we all know say at the end of the day they cannot be able to even fulfill all these 25 promises.
Okay.
So even in their first year, I think we meet about 68 promises. They are doing 25. That is about 36%. Of the promises they have made, which we know say at the end of this year, they might not even be able to hit 20% of the promises they have made in this year. MPP a GDP growth of 5.7%, yeah, which the minister admitted. That shows the economy is than ever kwampa so the economy. Nasabio why the jawno? Obe set a target for GDP growth. What is it 4.4%? Say abanda dana ye chastising the body this say no. There say wo ye sabio na enye no. But we could do ye set a target. Ye set a target way below what they did. This is something that should communicate to Ghanaians the sort of government we are having now. You say aban bi aba aban so in your first 3 to 6 months, use your honeymoon period. Oh yeah, there's a Ghana for nyina edo. Ese obi adu wachi ese osubi mada. But after that period, and that is when Ghanaians are going to see the hit. Already we are seeing it. Some of the crises we are going through, even in their first 3 months, we realize that NDC is almost giving us a hopeless governance in their 4 years, even from the first quarter of their governance. One of the major things the Women's Bank. And per Bank of Ghana and regulations, you need not less than 400 million Ghana cedis for capitalization to have a proper bank. NDC never communicated or never made a campaign promise say microfinance and a friend is saying savings to loans and as a micro credit firm or something. They categorically promise say they're going to do Women's Bank. Okay. But in the budget, the President of Parliament, they allocated only 51 million. Say if you're even going to set up a bank, that 51 million, it does not guarantee you a banking license. So what are you saying? If you inform my phone and ma just know very well that this government, even in this first year, the Women's Bank who did it will not be able to. They will not be fulfill it. MCK Chama Maslock and the MPP, it is more than this 51 million. Are they going to give this money as Salala Sula Lasika Nas Adenudin Yashina because NDC is capable of doing this thing? Where you MCK could do it ran for 51 billion. And this 51 friend is saying million over for Women's Bank, and they allocated 78 million Ghana cedis to government communications. at the presidency. In Jamisa say A4 paper, Ekoto, printing Ekoye, media houses a contract to woman, or Momusika de Common, a here saying Ghana, ma before you form Masika, as the moma put to a constitution, not economy is benefiting from no. We are prioritizing Sika Ediko government communication. More than that, during MPP time, MPP only allocated 4 million Ghana cedis to government communication at the Office of the Government Machinery. Sam George and Ukuja top black was and TV da. Now buying the year propaganda. Now they have raised it more than how many percent? More than 2,000%.
2,000. 4 million to
78 million. Last, we realized that Felix Ofusu-Kwache has gathered bloggers. So one thing they're going to do is say they are going to pay all these bloggers to watch the government at any time. It's assemble social media now must pay this for to Oguso. Assemble social media now must pay this for to Oguso. When the president of Ghana so could share labor unions to negotiate about their salary increment, minimum wage increment, a whole president sat down and gave them 10%. But the government has increased budget allocation to kind of saying compensations for at government machinery, almost 720%. That is how much government is giving them. When MPP was giving 327 million Ghana cedis, this government has allocated 2.7 billion to this in
government
machinery, as compensations. You have free SHS. The gap in the infrastructure gap by what free SHS. Government only needs. You're kind of saying 1 billion. 1 billion. No. Government needs only 1 billion to deal with the infrastructure gap under the free SHS policy. Government said he doesn't have money to do it. How much allocation is the government put there? There was no a single allocation for free SHS infrastructure. But government is saying, Obefa taxpayers' money of $250 million. That is about 4.1 billion Ghana cedis to be buying gold. Summing up to $12 billion in a year. Government doesn't need IMF. How much are we going to take from IMF? Isn't that $3 billion? It is a government and all this is the propaganda just to whitewash the gold board. Maybe when we get a time, we will talk about the gold board. And government has allocated $100 million for capital expenditure at the Office of Government Machinery. That's the better to cars. Yeah, the bay akabodie ewo a friend saying Office of Government Machinery. This same government and a friend is saying paragraph 478 of the economic policy now Abai say on to me recruitment because of IMF conditionalities. On to me even replacement. Ghana former Bunintini ha no mutini ye say this government in his first term or in his first year of governance was say he will not be able to recruit anybody. Yes, in Sobeto a friend is saying a job away from Opa. About we better so even 1 month and nipa cry more a friend appointment letters or chances or saki it we a babu no need as say aban way ebe ma adida so be for employment near there to why you because even in their first 1 month, they are asking people to go home. And the first economic policy about we read, was stating emphatically that government is not going to recruit, not going to replace, which has never been the case. At any time a government ever call IMF for any kind of help, the worst the government will do is to place embargo on maybe recruitment. But for replacement, nipa pension, the government is not going to do that. But this same government has $100 million for government expenditure at the Office of the Presidency. Omuwe no say ye betting tax free ho. The entire betting tax free one say, yem from adwuma entimu kwatwa bet. Yem from adwuma eti betting tax na mo ye hu dede na free say, yem from adwuma entimu kweden. Mun kwatwa bet. One surprising thing is say after say aban need 2.7 billion share a compensation at Office of Government Machinery ye cast 7 economic ministries ebomu a sika aban de mom no 2.2 billion. Let's just say Office of the Government Machinery no ankasa no who here as 7 economic ministries ye hwe sika aban ebe spend infrastructure sector infrastructure ministries now 700 million Ghana cedis as allocated for a friend is saying those infrastructure until this year what we need to say aban be year kwan e big projects tumuda because even in that sector there is not there's nothing good to write home about it. A budget year by the 2 Jano na e ka se be scrutinize ahwemu ya And when we are the man for Tiasia, your Maya home and copy June, July, August. That is when people begin to feel the real heat in this governance. Because if there is no hope in the budget that has been presented, you share budget allocations to various sectors of the economy. I think the government is so much considered in itself as a government than the people of Ghana. And my today say yes, be a women's bank. One of the advice I want to give this morning is say 51 million now by allocated say or the be a women's bank, which end we can't even take that money to Bank of Ghana say or the budget license. Your government banks, something like a National Investment Bank, Agric Bank, they don't even have branches in all those places. Government should inject the money into this bank and just let the Ghanaian do that. He has failed on one of his promises. Now I am creating a sector in this banks. Now these women can go there and go for some of these loans. Then say, this can be a imagine say you be even the friend say 10 branches of this women's bank with 51 million offices, recruitment, machinery. This 51 million cannot even set up a 10 friends offices in Ghana here. Look at it at the cost involved. There is nothing new. There is no hope. The Ghanaian youth now, at social media, assembly so the attempt they made you, assembly so not the 2 megabyte data no. Now assembly share face to face on team in Kasan and Impuno. Sani pan no din attempt. So out of the budget that has been presented, Nadia, some you and so
okay, so you didn't come out now 2025 budget, no, and Shadrack Fordjour said there's no hope, and it has so be any